There it is. I hope it picks up enough sound, but we dub over it as they say in the business or whatever. All right, I think it's recording.
Are we live?
We're gonna find out in a second. Put these headphones on.
Are we live?
I think we're live. All right.
Shane and Myron. Oh, are we
And we're back.
And we're gonna disagree today.
We're gonna disagree for sure. What was our topic? I already forgot.
You said feel versus. We were talking about raw.
Oh, raw. Okay, yeah.
Why are kids raw?
Right? Why do the raw being labeled raw? Like, first of all, we got to acknowledge what is raw for everybody. Make sure everybody knows. Like, in scouting, when you're looking at a kid, like, specifically when you're talking about the next level, when you're like a high school coach might say it about like a youth player. A college coach might say it about a high school kid, or like pro scouts to say it about, it's like when you're evaluating someone for the next level, they might be labeled raw. And so
what makes them raw?
Okay, and so generally, what does that mean?
The body is not moving, obviously fluid enough. There is rigidness. Body's moving hard, a lot of effort. Knowledge could be a big one. And back to my thing, it's guys who don't have enough feel, quote unquote, feel for the game.
Feel. So that's one of our arguments about.
That is our biggest argument. I think.
Feel, like who has feel, who doesn't have feel. Why do you have feel? What do we mean by feel? Well, let's start with the raw. Like, basically, like when you're labeled raw, you're basically saying you're athletic, but you're not getting the most out of your skill because like your knowledge or ability to get the most out of your skill. You have tools, but you haven't developed the skill, right? We've talked about this before, the tools and skill.
Yep.
So you have tools, but you haven't developed the skill to maximize your tools.
Right.
I
would that's exactly the way I would probably.
All right.
You got a kid who's going to steal 50 bases just based off of pure speed and get thrown out 100 times.
Yeah.
Versus stealing 90 bases out of 100 times.
Yeah. So basically saying like someone who's faster who gets thrown out more than a guy who's slower but knows how to steal the base and use the speed better.
Right. That would be quote unquote raw.
That's what they usually talk about when they talk about raw. So when we talk about feel, basically what we're saying is feel is knowing, is that the opposite of raw? Like knowing how to get the most out of having the skill to get the most out of your tools? Would that be feel?
I would say feel though is more about situations where you are in the field. Because your tools can put you in those field positions.
Okay, I hear what you're saying.
For guys who guys who have really good feet. Okay, guys who have good feet. They're going to have feel on how to where their body's supposed to be at to field that ground ball or to relay that throw. Now, guys who just, like you said, are athletes who haven't really mastered their tools or skills may look wrong, but they still have good feet. Yeah, I can see you disagreeing with me right now. That is my definition of feel. Feel for what the situation is about to bring you, how you're going to put your body in that position. That's where raw can also mean less tools and or less skills. But if I have tools and I have feel, I'm more likely going to have big time skills, and I'm going to be a pretty good player.
If you have tools and feel, that's why I'm still my hesitation. What I'm thinking about is like I still think I would basically describe feel as being able to having the skill to get the most out of your tools. I think that to me describes feel, because it's also like you're saying, those situational things, like you develop the skill enough to, it's kind of like someone who's raw. Again, okay, let's talk about, just like you're saying, the stealing, like someone being fast versus being a good base runner or base stealer is like once you develop that skill, like that means you have feel. You can read the picture. You can read the situation.
Okay, I get you. But now you're also taking into account over time what you've learned. You're taking learned things throughout the game.
Like that's
like a guy who's really fast, who doesn't know how to take a lead, who doesn't know when to go, but is still stealing bases. That's raw.
Yeah, that's raw. Yeah.
Okay. Now
he's outrunning the ball.
He's outrunning the ball. He's just faster than everybody else at that level. But now you're also talking about a guy. If you're saying he's an 80 runner or a really good runner, fast runner, whatever you want to call it, but he's not a good base stealer. That is still raw, in my opinion. Just because the skill,
I feel like
the skill doesn't have to always be good for him to be raw. The guys in the big leagues are still raw with some skills.
Yeah. But because they have to learn that level, right?
Correct.
Even in the minor leagues, like you're going to be able to outrun, especially at the lower levels. Like you're going to be able to. It's a lot like college. Like those lower levels are like slightly better than college, and so you're going to outrun a lot of mistakes. And then like you get to AA, AAA, where there's a lot of feel. Like those guys have feel. Like AAA is a lot of feel, and they know how to do those things that they know how to exploit guys who are just raw.
But now, would you say, this is where I think we're going to disagree, is that, would you say that raw is based off of them not having tools, or is raw based on them not having the skill yet?
Not having the skill. I think that's what, when we usually say someone is raw, people who get the label raw are athletes who might not be baseball players. Right, that's basically what you're trying to say.
Mm-hmm.
And if someone who's a baseball player, you say even if you say someone like
here it comes.
Yeah,
here it
so
comes.
Someone who's not quite doesn't have great tools, but they have skill.
Dion, not a great baseball player, tremendous tools, no skills.
I wouldn't say no skills, but
no. He was a football player who was a super athlete.
Bo Jackson more so.
Bo Jackson had more
Bo
skills.
Jackson struck out. Bo Jackson struck out more.
Who was a better baseball player?
I think Dion was.
No.
Well,
stop.
Baseball player.
Look at the tools. Look at the tools.
The tools.
The tool package.
That's the difference. That's what you're saying.
Bo
Jackson,
arm, Bo speed, Bo power, Bo hit.
Exactly.
So how can Dion be a better baseball player?
This is where we disagree, because you're all about the tools.
Yes, I am about the tools.
I'm about skill.
Yeah, but if you have the tool package, you can have the skill. You could develop the skills and have more feel than a guy who has less tools and more feel.
Yeah, the tools are what's gonna make everything that much better. Like the better your tools are, the better player you're gonna be.
Right.
And so like you're saying, who's a better, what are we talking about, better baseball player? Like who's gonna have more impact on the team and all that? Yes, Bo will, because his tools are that much better than everybody else. Who's the better baseball player, meaning who has better feel? Dion. Dion stole more bases. Dion was able to, he was on playoff teams,
because the team was good, not because he was good.
I think Dion would be, honestly, this is what I think. Dion would be Kenny Lofton if he just played baseball. Like borderline Hall of Fame.
Okay, who would Bo Jackson be if he just played baseball?
It's tough to say.
How?
Because
he was playing he was playing football as a hobby. Dion was playing football and then playing baseball as a hobby.
No. They both played the first part of the season. Bo would quit, because he's a running back. Bo would play until August and quit, shut it down. So I get it. I get what you're saying, but to me, Bo had less feel, so you don't know is he going to develop? He was so
you're
good.
saying that his tools were so good that he didn't have feel, he just did it.
Basically he learned
so is there such thing as too many tools to not be a really good player?
No. Now your mindset comes in, but baseball is such a mental game. Your mindset comes a big part of it, and It's just like kids, like when the big kid on the small field, like the kids who are bigger when you first start playing, they dominate because they're bigger than everybody else, right? It's the opposite of baseball's 90% mental. No, baseball's 90% physical when you're a kid, and it's all like the big kids, they dominate and they think they're good because they're dominating everything, but they're really just bigger than everybody else. So their tools are just that much better, so they don't learn skill and they don't learn feel a lot of times. So because they don't have to, because they can just go out and dominate without it. And then once everybody catches up, everybody else has to learn skill and feel, right? And so when everybody catches up and now everything's equal, now everything's equal. So the tools are equal, but the kids who are smaller suddenly have more feel and more skill than the big kids. And the big kids, they're not big anymore. Plus, they have the same tools as everybody, and they don't have the skill, and they don't have the feel. And so
when do you think feel and skill are learned?
It depends. Because what I'm saying, like the whole thing of that big kid thing, like if you're the big kid, you might not have to. Bo basically didn't have to learn skill. He was able to get to the big leagues, be like borderline all-star. You know, he was sometime all-star, a couple of times probably, and like borderline all-star basically on all tools, right? It was just all tools. Struck out a ton. I mean, he would strike out 130 times playing only till August, right? Like he struck out a lot, but I mean, he was that, but he also was hitting 30 bombs, right? And he's hitting like 250, 260, somewhere in there. Like he's doing pretty good.
Basically, all good outfield too.
And based on all tools, right? And so, I mean, I'm just saying, like, Bo, would Bo have like it's like kind of wanting to take a step back to take 2 steps forward. Tiger Woods winning in 2001 or whenever, like he first had all 4 major or even I think in 90, like after he won the Masters and all this, like changed his swing. Like Tiger, like he's changed his swing a few different times when he was already the best because he was trying to take it to another level. And a lot of guys aren't willing to do that. So that's my thing on Bo. Would he be willing to kind of
So
take
then
that
would
step?
you label Bo as a raw baseball player?
Probably, yeah. Yeah.
Why?
Because his skill didn't allow him to maximize his tools. Like that much bat speed, that much, I mean, hand-eye coordination, he had it, like he could have, and he did, like he got better. He did get better with it, but it's just like he didn't play enough. That's usually when you're saying you're raw, like it's,
because you don't play that sport enough.
Yeah, and it's typically like 2 sport athletes or guys like that, guys who play football, like they play football and baseball, and like then they dominate baseball because they're physical.
So is raw the opposite of feel?
Yeah, that's what I was trying to say. Yeah, I think that's what I think. I think.
So Bo, what you're saying is Bo had more tools than Dion.
Yes.
Okay. He had more. Dion had more skill in the game than Bo.
Yes.
Which inevitably the skill to you is related to feel,
Yes.
and the tools are related to raw.
Yes.
I would say I'd probably have to agree with you. Dang.
See,
I didn't want to agree with
it
you.
always happens. we start out the opposite ends of the world,
It's
and then
because
it kind of goes,
here's what
and it all
happens,
comes
guys,
together.
is that we end up saying the same thing. There's 2 different ways.
That's it.
And then we got to think about it.
We just gotta like we had that meeting of the mind has that we meet in the middle,
Yep.
and it's like we think we're on the other.
I'm still on the tools thing rather than.
I think we agree about that too. The tools in the field. I think in the end we agree on it.
Does your feel get better with better tools?
That's what I don't agree.
I know. I agree with that.
I know you do.
Because if I can develop.
Your feel is basically being able to use your skill.
Yeah, but if your tools get better, your feel gets better.
Okay, maybe. I think that's one. I'm going to give it to you now. I think if we keep talking about it the same way, we'll come back to the same. We'll end up agreeing.
Yeah.
Yes. I think I'm just thinking of it a little different than you.
Because if I know that my arm is going to play better, and I know and my feet play better, I'm going to put myself in a better situation to where I know that I can make this play consistently with better feel and be in a better position all the time.
Bo as raw as Bo. Come out Vladdy. Vlad in the outfield. Come out in the outfield.
125, 126 assists, 125 errors in the outfield. That's really hard to do.
Yeah.
That's really tough.
That's a ton. But
what is that?
Yeah, and just saying
Is
that's
that raw?
raw. We're saying that's raw. Bo probably not looking at the numbers, not knowing, looking at some of his throws, he seemed to be more accurate. Maybe that's just the highlights. Maybe just seeing the highlights. We don't know for sure, but that could be an example of. Well, he had more feel, maybe like for actually throwing a guy out, like
So then you would equate that feel is how long you play the sport for. It accumulates over time.
Yeah.
With tools
Even
with no tools.
like they would say walks are old man skill. Like they're saying, like the later you get in your career, the more usually your walks go up. Like you learn to control the strike zone more. If you do, but Vladdy didn't because he didn't need to. Also,
because your tool gets better of plate discipline, which equals.
I guess you would say that's plate discipline, but the plate discipline isn't a tool.
Why is it not a tool?
It's a skill.
That's
what are the tools? I mean, it's baseball.
But you can break them down more if you really need to.
I get you. All right,
Well,
we're trying to find some way to.
We're trying to find because every time we do this, we end up disagreeing at the very beginning, and then we end up talking it out, and then he makes valid points, and I make valid points, and then we end up agreeing.
Hey, smart, being willing to change your mind.
Yes.
Open to different perspectives.
Mm-hmm.
That's a sign of intelligence. I think.
And it's a sign of friendship too.
That's it. All right, we're out.
We're out of here.
That was pretty good.
Yeah, you gonna turn it off?